when you go to PCC, right, pre-command course, they'll talk to you about your relationship with your sergeant major, or if you're the sergeant major, about your relationship with your commander. And they'll talk to you about how important it is for the two of you to be on the same frequency, and how it's even better if you and the other person actually like each other, right? When you're a command sergeant major relationship, it's really the first time in your career where the commander and the sergeant major have the same level of experience-ish, right? I mean, there's obviously one-offs where a battery commander maybe went to OCS, and so him and the first sergeant have been in about the same time. But generally speaking, the NCO is much more senior to the officer, and some of that difference prevents you, or it becomes a limitation sometimes to you being true, personal friends. Just because your lives are so different away from the office. But when you're a commander, command sergeant major, the chances are you're about the same age, you've been in the Army about the same amount of time, your kids are about the same age, and it is very possible that you will become friends. And that's what has happened with Sergeant Major and I. Not only do we have similar years of experience, and we are similar age, and we have children who are similar age, we have similar backgrounds. And that has, right from the very beginning, we saw the world, we saw the Army, we saw what we wanted to do here with the DIVARTY the same. It wasn't like we were talking past each other. We both came from the same backgrounds, and we knew what we wanted to do, we knew what was important, and we set out to do it. Sergeant Major, of course, was here before me. He was here for, I guess, a year.
Years of change.
We were with Colonel Hahn when the DIVARTY was getting ready with the warfighter and all that went on related to the stand-up of the JADGIC and all the really awesome stuff that first warfighter did, and all the great material they produced that became all of the lessons learned that Call and all those folks used. He was here for that. And then I came along, and we did our warfighter, and then have kind of gone in a different direction. Y'all have all seen that based off of the relationships we have with the battalions. And I think it says a tremendous amount about Sergeant Major and his ability to switch. Now, we all talk about what happens when the colors change hands, and when the guidon changes hands, and how the unit's loyalty switches right away, right? But we've all been in a unit when it wasn't like that, right? We've all been in a unit when the unit was still secretly holding on to what it had, and it's difficult for everybody to kind of come on to what's new. The Sergeant Major was never that way. It was immediate. We switched because it was immediate that I wanted to do something a little bit different, and while always respecting the fact that Sergeant Major had been so much a part of what had occurred. But his loyalty to me, right from the very beginning, to get on board with what I was being asked to do by the CG, speaks volumes about who he is. Sergeant Major brings this breadth of experience, and Sergeant Major Buckland kind of alluded to it. From all the different types of units you've been in, airborne and light and striker and basic training and BCDs and OCs, it's just incredible experience. And so when you talk to him, he's bringing that to the table. That's behind what he's saying, right? The fact that he's been married for 25, 26 years, right, is behind what he's saying to his lovely wife Jocelyn, who's here in her red. That's behind what he's saying, right? You're getting that every time, no matter what you're talking about with him, whether it's what's the best way to run this training event, what's the best way for me to counsel my soldier. Sergeant Major, I'm dealing with this problem at home, right? That's what he brings to the table for you. That's what he brings to the table for me. You might think that when you're the colonel that you kind of know everything, and so you don't really need to ask anybody for advice. I couldn't tell you how much further from the truth that is. There's a couple of instances where I had an idea of what I wanted to do. Something had occurred, I had an idea, this is what I want to do, and was about to do it without talking to the Sergeant Major about it. Because I was so sure that what I wanted was the right thing, and I was moving out. To include this as recently within the last month. But then a pause, and I thought, you know what I need? I need Sergeant Major. I need to talk to him, and let's see what he says. I know he's going to agree with me, but I'm going to ask him anyway. That's what I'm thinking. So I asked him, I talked to him about it. I'll just cite this specific example. And he, very with sage advice, kind of starts to get me to see that maybe what I want to do isn't the right thing. And maybe that's not the best way to handle the situation. Doesn't immediately force it on me. He lets me he knows how I am. He lets me kind of think about it a little bit, gives me something to consider. I consider it for about an hour. I'm getting ready to launch on what I think is right, but I'm still not sure. And so I asked Sergeant Major if we could talk again, and he was right. He was right. I took his advice, started asking some other questions, figure out what was actually going on. It was the absolute right way to handle that, and I think left to my own, I know what I would have done, and it would have been wrong, right? And so there's instances like that happen all the time, right? And when you're the commander, you need that in your life. You need that advice from your Sergeant Major. Not all commanders get that from their Sergeant Major. I could. And as I alluded to earlier, Sergeant Major and I have become friends. And I don't want Sergeant Major and Jocelyn to leave because we're friends. And Shelley and I have been not looking forward to this for a while because we know it's coming. The good thing is, and the way that I kind of let myself think, okay, this will be okay, is Sergeant Major has been selected, y'all know this, he was selected on a nominative list a few months ago. Well, then now he's been further selected and slated. He's going to go to a nominative Sergeant Major position to be the Sergeant Major for a 2-star at USFK. And there's not much better than when you've got someone you work with and you get to see them continue to succeed. Like, that's like the best thing ever, is to have a guy that you care about get rewarded with something that they deserve. And so that, for me, as I think about, man, I don't want Sergeant Major to leave. Like, I need him. I think about how much better the Army is going to continue to get to be because of your continued service at a higher level. And that's why I don't like to talk about bittersweet. It's just sweet, because we've experienced all of this time with you, and we've grown so much from being around you. And then now you get to take that to another unit, and they will get to grow from you. And I think that's what I know. That's how at night, when I kind of lay down and I start to think about the day and what's tomorrow, that's how I've sort of been able to process the fact that Sergeant Major's leaving. I've been very honest with y'all about some personal struggles that I've had, and Sergeant Major's ability to help me kind of navigate that. When I kind of came to grips with what was going on in my life, I told 2 people. I told my wife and I told Sergeant Major. That was it. And again, that speaks to who he is, that I felt like I could say that to him, something that I could only say it to my wife. And instead, I knew I needed to talk to Sergeant Major about it. And so for him and for that, I'll be indebted, forever. Sergeant Major is who he is because of Jocelyn. Been married all this time. Put up with him back when what did he say a minute ago? What was his Ponce nickname? Right? So been knowing him ever since.
Papi Chulo.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Ever since he had that car and was driving around skipping school and going to the beach, you've been there. You've been there. All the days when he's a private in the 82nd. All those days. Italy, Lewis, Korea, all of it. Jocelyn, you make him who he is. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Shelley, appreciate your friendship. I appreciate y'all's friendship. You made the best chicken soup I've ever eaten in my life. If you ever find, this is kind of very specific, but if you ever find yourself like starting to drink around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and like it becomes 2200, Jocelyn makes an epic chicken soup. Epic. For all you captains back there, Graham, get somebody in your life that makes a good 2200 chicken soup. All right, you need that. Epic, epic. Jocelyn's going to be a great battle buddy to her next teammate, right? And that, honestly, because I know I can see behind the curtain. I got to see behind the curtain a little bit about the way that decision was made to hire your Sergeant Major. I know it had as much to do with you as it did him. That's the truth. It's the God's honest truth.
Oh wow.
Okay. We'd like to give you a few things.
Okay. Let me borrow your truck.
Yeah, so Sergeant, you need a truck for this. There's a couple things from the unit, and then there's something from Shelley and I. So which order are we going in? Yeah, so Shelley and I want to give you and Jocelyn something first. Jocelyn, come on up. All right, so